Hello, welcome and thank you for joining me for my budgetary review of variable costs I've incurred in 2022. Now, we're not going to be focusing on any fixed costs or, moral costs that we have to pay, like, medical bills for family and stuff, because we have to pay those, and, fixed costs, very boring. They don't really change. So we're going to be focusing primarily on the variable costs, or the things that we can change and manipulate and maybe cut down and cut corners on. But I don't really know how to say this. I've kind of it's not good, in summary. Basically, throughout the year I set up a budget and a tracking system on my laptop and tracked every cost. Didn't really stick to the budgeting side of it. It seems like we've gone a tad over in a couple of areas. Yeah, hopefully by confessing and putting this all online and for everyone to view, it gives me that little bit more pressure to maybe cut down on the excess that we got going on here. So I feel it's going to be much more fun if we start at the bottom and we work our way up to the number one expense of the year. Coming in at number 10 is private transportation. Now, what I mean by private transportation, it's Uber and things like that, and I spent a whopping £751.81. That's a holiday. That's a holiday somewhere. And there's a bit of a theme that's going to run through this, that April seems to be the party month, because the highest expense on Ubers was £149.70 in April of this year. You got to think of the upside. We got home safe, we got there efficiently, and thank you very much, Uber drivers, for getting me home. Number 9 is household, and that's like things like potted plants, doing bits around the house and stuff, buying a new machine or something around here, and that came in at a whopping £774.52, with the big month of being February of £324.26. Now, we didn't do like a big major redecoration. We did this kind of like revamp and bought some things for the bathroom and stuff like that, and but still, that's a lot of money throughout the year to be spending. Coming in at number 8 is gifts at £787.51. Now, what do I mean by gifts? Gifts are the where you buy a drink for someone, or you give not just necessarily like a birthday gift or a Christmas gift, but like throughout the year you just gift something to someone, and so therefore that's what that is. And I respect that. That should be in the top 10 of people's expenditure. It's like a gift to others type thing. So that's all good in my book. That can stay. Number 7, and this is quite a bad one, is gambling at £870.50. It's not like casino gambling or poker gambling. That is all National Lottery spending. That's bad. We've got to have a look at that and review that. And number 6 is takeaways, coming in at £965.67. That is ridiculous. But the biggest expenditure in the month was April at £248.51. Because I think it was the party month. I think I may have been a bit hungover, so I was on the old Deliveroo trying to get the the cure to the old hangover kicking in. But that's still a lot of money. Coming in at number 5 is probably the one that I've wasted the most money on. This thing is completely kind of pointless because I'm still single. It is dating, coming in at a whopping £975.51. That's just not worth it, is it? And the biggest month of expenditure goes to May at £206.59. And still no girlfriend. So maybe I'm the problem. Oh dear. Nah, so it's definitely something else. Coming in at number 4, it is clothing. Coming in at £1,042.99. With the biggest month of expenditure going to May at £558.59. I don't mind this being in the top category this year, because we are trying to look a bit more adult and professional. So they were adult and professional clothing. and stuff like that. And it wasn't like, but anyway, we'll get to something. And coming in at number 3 with a whopping £1,155.52 is food shopping. Now, I know what you're thinking, that might seem a bit low to you, but just remember that is one person, and I do have the luxury of being fed at work generally because of our long hours. They don't really like us leaving the building and stuff, so we get fed on site. So that's kind of a bonus, but still rather big. Right, number 2, which is quite depressing because it is kind of pointless. The thing is kind of a social thing, but still shouldn't really be that high. It's quite depressing that it is this high, and I'm slightly embarrassed about it. It is alcohol, coming in at a huge £1,396.88 for the year. That needs to be worked on. That's like trip anywhere. Top month for alcohol was April with £256.23. So April was the party month. High expenditure on alcohol, high expenditure on takeaways, high expenditure on private transport. Whatever I was doing in April, I was obviously having a bit of a jolly. And number 1 coming in top dog of the expenditure, and I think this has affected everyone who has been budgeting and tracking their thing because the prices have just fluctuated and gone mad, is fuel for the car. This has come in at a whopping £1,559.18. Okay, so that's a lot of money just to drive around. Oh my god, I've just added them all up. Okay, so if you add up all these variable expenditures that we could have cut down on, it comes to a very gross £10,280.53. Oh. We need to have a talk about this, don't we? Just get this a little bit changed up. It's like a first class trip to anywhere. I mean, you couldn't really say, you could make big changes on the savings, but you couldn't just save all that £10,000 because then you wouldn't be able to go anywhere, do anything, not live, not have anything like that. So that's. But the great thing about having a list like this is that you can see quite clearly what you need to cut down on and what you've been spending way too much money on. So let's go through and see if we can make some changes in our budget for 2023. So let's get an action plan going for 2023. Right, fuel. How are we going to cut down on that? Well, let's start working from home more. Let's do as little driving as possible. Maybe if we go to the pub quiz on the week, maybe have a ride share, pool share, or maybe like share the driving between the 3 of us instead of 3 cars turning up at the same pub. Probably might be handy. Alcohol. Let's just drink less. Number 1, and I think it's going to have a cascading effect on the budget. You know, less alcohol means less hangovers, which means less Uber Eats and less Ubers to drive us home and stuff like that. So that could very be the linchpin of lowering 3 of them down. But yeah, mainly drink less alcohol and buy less alcohol for 2023. The food shop. Nothing really we can do about the food shop. I would like to see it divided into like healthy food and like junk foods, because like how much of that 1,000 stuff is snacks and Coca-Cola and things that are bad for you compared to like fruits, vegetables, yada yada yada. That would be good to see. Clothing, well, we can cut down on clothing, but you know, we do want to, coming into my 40s now, so I want to buy more, you know, adult and appropriate clothing, so that can stay, but maybe cut down and go for sales stuff. Maybe, I don't know. Definitely not 1,000 quid's worth next year. That would be ridiculous. Dating, which is very depressing to talk about in your mid-30s. Let's see. Let's stop doing the whole going to dinners and things like that on first dates, because it's really affecting and tanking the budget. I think I'm going to go and just, you know, I think moving forward, maybe a walk by the river, going for a coffee or something like that, just to lower the price tag of doing that. plus, you know, forced interaction with a stranger. You can always get out of a coffee quite quick if they're unstable. Whereas like at a dinner, you're kind of forced to sit there until at least there's a point you can opt out. And if you have to opt out, you might have to pay for the meal without having the meal. Takeaways. Well, let's not get hungover so much, so therefore we don't need the aid of Deliveroo or Uber Eats to come and help us and make us feel better again. And also let's learn to cook at home and maybe buy one of those air fryers or something like that to actually, you know, cook more at home type thing instead of ordering a takeout. But that's definitely a big thing that I do not want to see on my top 10 for 2023. Gambling, we're going to have to set some rules for this. I mean, it's just ridiculous looking at this. 870 quid. I mean, yeah, the chance of becoming a millionaire, brilliant. But the odds of doing that are slim. And I think I have this notion and dream caught up in my mind where I would love to be that guy who buys a ticket 5 minutes before the end of the deadline and it's just a lucky dip and boom, they get it. Like, I think that guy, whoa, that's like, you just hear stories like that, you're like, oh my god, just want to be that guy. But I think that's a couple of quid per time over weeks adds up. So what I think we're going to do is set some pure rules in motion and only play, you know, weekly numbers and a lucky dip, because therefore if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and if it's not, it's not. So I want to see that slashed and to drop down. Gifts, I'm fairly happy with gifts. Like, you know, I like to be known as a generous person and to give out stuff than rather be someone who just takes all the time. So gifts can absolutely stay where it is. Maybe be a bit more careful on the old gifting, but like definitely still in the top 10 for next year. I would like to see that stay. Household, I think I messed this one up a little bit. I think I should have set like a separate budget, like, you know, going to Ireland was a separate budget, going to Lisbon was a separate budget, and maybe doing something like that so it's out of the monthly variables, so we're not actually maintaining it. But at the same time, you need to keep a track of how many pot plants you're buying and all this, just in case you might be overspending in that area. But yeah, definitely 2023 down. And finally, number 10, which has clearly got to go from the top 10. It's got to disappear downwards. Like, that's ridiculous. 750 quid on Ubers. Just so this is how ridiculous it is. I've looked at the figures in the spreadsheet for public transportation, trains, underground, buses. For the year, this has totaled up to 157 quid. In 1 month, I spent £149 on Ubers. So in 1 month, I spent the whole public transport budget. So definitely next year, I think we're going to have to pre-plan our journeys a bit better and make sure that we get the last train and the last buses home to avoid having to take an Uber. Obviously, if Uber's the safest and most convenient way, then yes, we're going to take it. Don't get me wrong, we're not just going to walk home from central London because that would be mad, and also take about 6 hours and 43 minutes. So we've talked about things that we want to see stay in the top 10 for next year. We've also talked about those things that we want to see fall out of the top 10 for next year and be reduced. But what things do we want increased spending monthly to go into the top 10? This is a very interesting question. So I would like to see entertainment shoot up into the top 10. And the reason being is, I'm not just trying to rebrand going out and getting pissed as entertainment and recategorizing that. What I mean by entertainment is like doing stuff that's like a non-drinking type activity that's also fun. So like going out to a pub quiz would be entertainment, like the price you pay for the admission to get into that, to going to the cinema, to doing other things on a monthly or weekly basis that brings more joy or entertainment into my life. Events, I want to bring events into the top 10, just more experiences and doing more. Which sounds crazy when you're trying to reduce stuff, but if we reduced alcohol from 1,400 to 800, and that gives us like £800 to go buy gig tickets and go out and entertain ourselves without, you know, just getting drunk. So this is what we're trying to do. We're going to try and spend less on things that we don't want to see in our top 10, and we're going to use that money to fund things that we do want to see in our top 10, so therefore our life is greatly improved according to things that we want to see. And it's just those two, kind of, because everything here is kind of boring, and I'd be kind of worried if I had to spend like £700 a year on maintenance or fines, or God forbid a phone bill. So let's end this video on like a high note and an aim for a better, brighter, greater future tomorrow by making an on-camera promise that's kind of off the cuff as well, by reducing that top 10 expenses for 2023 down by 35%. I think that could be achievable. That could be achievable, and we're going to put that in an action plan and everything for next year and get that going. Yeah, I think save 35% on those expenses, because then I could shift that towards paying off debt, and that would be a much better use of the money than spending it on like private transportation, takeaways, and household. That was only increasing those debts. So let's do that, go forth. We've got our plan of action. Hopefully in 2023 we'll have done it, and there we go. It's all over to you now, future Paul. It's all riding on you to reduce that monthly expenditure by 35%. You're welcome, and goodbye. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Joy be with you all. La 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 la. Okay. It's a holiday somewhere. It costs a lot of money to be alive.